Hi there. If you've got your own company, then you know at some point someone's going to ask you, how's business? Well, what's your answer to that question? If you're like many, your answer will probably be something like, it's going great. Things are really busy. And when you stop and think about that for a moment, isn't it curious how we tend to wear busyness as a badge of honour? It seems that most people running businesses use busyness as a measure of success. The busier they get, the more successful they seem to feel. And my name is Chris Gardner, and I have a term that describes this condition. It's called the busyness delusion. And my realisation of this condition was personal, because I was suffering from it as well. Now, I had two wake-up calls that I'm going to tell you about. The first was, firstly, I'd qualified as a chartered accountant with one of the big 5 firms in the UK. I spent some years in professional practice and then moved into the commercial corporate world. I had a successful corporate career, and I developed from just a finance specialist to having senior international roles involving marketing and sales, logistics, business unit management, strategic leadership, and all sorts of stuff. And then in 2004, I had my first wake-up call. I realised that I was working stupidly long hours with lots of international travel. I was learning loads, and I found the work interesting and challenging. In other words, I was successful being busy, but I was missing out on my kids growing up. And I realised that I was working hard for someone else in the hope that I would personally benefit as a result. Now, with that realisation came the decision to change things, and I started my own business as a freelance finance director. I built up a lucrative and varied portfolio of clients in different sectors. I brought them years of commercial experience and in a very broad range of disciplines, and they gave me more opportunities to learn and develop myself too. And life was great at that time. And then I got my second wake-up call, and this time it was devastating. My wife, who I'd been with since we were 16 years old, she was the love of my life, was diagnosed with an incurable brain tumour. Our kids were in their first years of school, and we didn't know how long we'd have left together. As it turned out, she lived for another 5 years, and in the last 18 months of her life, her capabilities reduced to the extent that she couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything on her own. Now, I was lucky because the business had been successful. I could choose to cut down on the number of clients I was serving and be her 24-hour carer. I got her out of bed, got her into the shower, got her dressed, got the kids ready for school, prepared the food. Basically, I learned what it's like to be a woman. And then those 18 months were beautiful. Yes, they were painful and dreadful, and it was also the most precious and intense time where just being together was the demonstration of our deepest love. I would not have chosen any other option. It was the best thing I could possibly do. I was able to look after her the whole time, able to care for her at home. She never needed to spend any time in a hospice, and we were together until the very end. And after she died, I needed to get my own life back again. I needed to work. And that's when it struck me. For years, people have been asking me, how's business? And I had replied in all honesty, it's great, I'm really busy. And I had two realisations. Firstly, I didn't have a business. I had a job. When I reduced the time I spent working, I was choosing to reduce my income too. So that needed to change. Secondly, being busy wasn't the most important thing to achieve, not in any sense. I had got caught up in the conditioning that to be successful meant being busy. But the reality is that everyone who's running a business actually wants the same thing. And it's not being busy. In fact, we all want the same 3 things, and I call these the 3 Fs. We all want a sense of freedom, otherwise you get a job. We want a sense of fulfillment from our work. This gives meaning to what we do and how we live our lives. And of course, we all want financial success. In the early days of a business, we want financial security first, and then it builds, so we want financial success. And when I'm talking to groups of business owners and entrepreneurs, I like to ask them this question. Is your business right now giving you all 3 Fs? And you can picture the scene. Heads drop down as the realisation dawns. The truth is that their businesses, for some of them, isn't even giving them one of the 3 Fs. And my point is this: if your business is not already giving you all 3 Fs, freedom, fulfillment and financial success, then one of 2 things is happening. Either it is set up in a way that can give you the 3 Fs, it's just that you're not there yet, but you're on your journey and it's just a question of time. Or the business is actually not set up in a way that will enable you to have all 3 Fs. And if that's the case, something needs to change. But what to change? Well, to understand why this is happening and what to do about it, let's look at a diagram. Here you can see 2 columns, one personal and one business. There are also 2 rows. The top row is inputs and the bottom one outputs. And you'll see what these terms mean as we get into the detail you need to understand. So now we've got the 4 quadrants. Now, just now, I asked you the question about whether your business was giving you all 3 Fs. Remember, this is what everyone running a business actually wants. Now, in the words of this framework, this is the output they want personally. It's what actually matters to them in their life. So we're talking about this bottom left quadrant, personal output. And this is called the reason quadrant. Now, you already know what's in the reason quadrant. It's 3 things. And I'll illustrate those as the points of a triangle. So these are the 3 Fs of freedom, fulfillment, and financial success. Now, let's understand what happens when the business starts. You can forget about high level and worthy goals like freedom and fulfillment at that stage, right? The priority is just to pay the bills at that time. So you'll do whatever you need to do to get things going, to get money coming in so you can survive. So you go out looking for potential customers, you sell to them, and you make sure that you deliver your service or product brilliantly so they'll come back for more. And as the business grows, so the amount you have to do grows with it. More customers to find, more to serve, more bills to pay. And before long, you find yourself being busy. And now you start wearing your busyness as your badge of honour. So your success has somehow become defined by how busy you are. And you start working as if being busy was your main aim. And this is what I refer to as the busyness delusion. So in terms of this framework, you're spending all of your time on the outputs of your business. So you're working in the bottom right quadrant. Well, before we have a look at what's actually in that quadrant, let's take this opportunity to stop and think. The aim is not to be busy, but it's understandable how we got to this state. So how do we break out of it? The answer to that question lies in the top right quadrant, by choosing different inputs to your business. Now, this quadrant is the resources box, and this is where the real insight is to break free from the busyness delusion. Like the reason quadrant, the bottom left, there's a triangle inside this one as well. And the points of this triangle are the resources you have available for your business. And in this framework, they are money, time, and energy or effort. Now, this is the insight. This is where almost everyone goes wrong. Your thinking here determines if you'll find it easier to move towards what you really want, the 3 Fs, or whether you're forced to move away from those 3 Fs into the vortex of the busyness delusion. So first, let's understand the money resource. Most people think, I haven't got much money, and therefore money is a scarce resource. And this is the trap. That way of thinking will inevitably lead to the busyness delusion. Here's why. Actually, money's everywhere. It's fully abundant. Everywhere you look, you'll see money available. Now, obviously, I don't mean in your bank account, right? But it is available to you. For example, you can borrow money. Where from? From another 3 Fs. You could borrow from family, friends, and fools, right? You could borrow it from the bank. There's now peer-to-peer lending as another source. Alternatively, you could sell some assets to raise money to invest inside your business. We've had clients who were so committed to their business that they even sold their house to put the funds in. And you can find someone, or you can find someone to invest in your business. The point is, there are many ways to get access to money. Now, I'm not saying here, this is important, you now need to go out and borrow lots of money. I'm not saying that. Just doing that blindly would be an unnecessarily risky and stupid thing to do. There are some important things to have in place before considering this approach, and I'll show you those in a moment. The point is that people who think that money is scarce have no other option than to look to the other two resources available to them. Now, as you can see in the framework, these are time and energy or effort. With time, of course, we all have just 24 hours in the day. Many people are familiar with the idea of leveraging time. For example, you could bring other people into your business and benefit from their time. In that way, it's possible to get more time devoted to the business. But more significantly, let's think about energy and effort. Of these three resources, this one is the least abundant. It's you, and only you have a finite amount of energy. What's more, it's also the most fragile of the three resources. For example, it depends on your mood. If you're in a bad mood, it impacts how much energy and effort you can put in today. It certainly impacts how effective that effort is spent. So if your business is set up in a way such that it relies on your energy, then it's set up in a fragile way. Now, if that describes your business, then you'll be interested in what comes next, because this is the start of how you break free from being so busy and not actually getting what you want from your business. So we now have the understanding that actually money is not a scarce resource, and that it is possible to bring more of it into the business as a resource to invest. So it's possible. And if we did raise extra money as a resource, what do we do with it so that it actually helps us? Well, this now moves us into the bottom right quadrant. And this is where we look at the outputs from our business. This is the momentum quadrant, which is where you want to build your business. As with the previous quadrants, this one too has got a triangle in it. And this one summarises at the highest level what a business is all about. And when you look at any business, then whilst there's some degree of complexity as you drill down, at the very top, it's just about three things. In any business, you need to be able to attract leads, you need to be able to convert those leads into sales, in other words, get customers and clients, and then you need to ensure the delivery of your product and service so that it gives them a great experience. So those are the points of the triangle: leads, sales, and delivery. Looking at leads first then, here's the key question. Very few people who have a business ask themselves this question. What if there was a way of generating all the leads you need at will? And what if you could do that in an automated way? Think about that, because it's really significant. If your business could generate all the leads it wanted, what would that feel like? What impact would that have on your business? And what if generating all those leads took none of your own time? How would that feel? What impact would that have? It's pretty significant, right? So the obvious question then is, can I create a system that generates leads automatically? And the answer is, yes, you can. For example, if your customers are hanging out in Facebook land, then you know you can set up some ads, send them to a web page where they give their email address, and then you can email them great information, and gradually they'll learn all about you, and in time they'll end up becoming a client or a customer. The same is true using Google AdWords. Actually, you can achieve the same automation using real-world offline approaches like flyers, postcards, and direct mail as well. You can also partner with another business and use their customer contacts. There are many, many more options to generate leads. The detail of those doesn't matter right now. What does matter is that you can see that it is possible to set up a system or a process where you can generate all the leads you want and do that in a way that takes none or very little of your time. So imagine you've done that. Now your business has got loads of leads coming in. The next stage is to convert them into clients or customers. In the triangle, this is the sales point. So I've got another question for you at this point. Do you convert your leads into clients by having a conversation with them? If you do, and obviously that's how most sales happen, I've got another question. When you have those conversations, do you wing it? Lots of people do. And here's why this matters so much. If you're having a different conversation each time, then your best conversion method is ineffective. At worst, it just doesn't work. Either way, if you're winging it, you can't teach someone else how to do it. And if you don't have a method or a process to structure and guide your conversation, then you can't replicate it. And if you can't replicate it, you can't teach someone else to do it. So that's the next step. You'll need to work out how you actually do structure your conversations. And then, when you've worked that out, you can teach someone else to do it. But Chris, I hear you say, I'm the best person at selling in my company. No one else should sell as well as me. Okay, sure. You should be great at selling your business's offer. Of course you should. But what if you taught someone your sales method, and let's assume that they are only 60% as good as you? What happens then? Well, if you don't do anything else, of course your business will go down. But now you have someone else selling. Now you've got more time available for yourself, and at this point you can choose to spend some of that time selling if you need to keep the business going at the same rate. And with the extra time that you've now created, because you're not needed in lead generation, remember, you can go and find someone else who you can teach to sell for you as well. Well, what if that person is only 60% as good as you? Well, now you've got two people who are selling for you, and together they're bringing in more than you could. And none of that requires your time. Do you think that would make a difference to your business? And that brings us round the triangle to delivery. Now, if you love what you do in serving your clients, then fantastic. You can choose to keep doing that. But you can see by now how you also have the option to do the same thing as you did in the sales process. You can work out how you do your delivery, teach other people to do that, and your time is now your own again. Now, at that point, it may seem like it's just too good in theory, but you might be thinking this is too much work, it's a lot of work, it's too difficult. Well, think about this. What if you could, in just 1 month, create a method that generated some leads without you spending time on it? And what if you'd worked out a way that anyone could convert those leads into sales? And what if someone other than you delivered the product or service? What if in 1 month you could run this and it generated just £500 in revenue? Nothing big at all, just £500. The point is that that £500 was generated, converted and earned without taking any of your time. And if you've done that once, well, now you know you can start to scale that up. You can scale it because it's not relying on your resources of your time or energy. So what's happening is your business activity is producing results that start to move you towards your 3 Fs. You're regaining freedom. You're growing towards financial success. And at least at this stage, you realise the fulfillment in creating something significant. Now again, I can hear your concern. Now that's great, Chris, but I don't know how to set up the lead generation system or how to teach someone else how to sell. And we address this specifically in the 4th quadrant. This is the input to you personally, and it's known as the self quadrant. Now the triangle in this box has the points of skills, beliefs and brain. Right? The first of these is skills. It's actually skills and knowledge. In other words, do you have the skills and knowledge to do the things you need to do to make this whole approach work? So if, for example, you don't know how to set up an automated lead generation system, you need to address that. Now you can do that in 2 ways. Either you can learn it yourself. You can find courses, books, teachers or any other number of options and you can learn it. But as you now realise, that takes time and energy, of course. But you can choose to use those resources that way. Or you can find someone else who already has those skills and knowledge. You'll recognise already that you'd be using the money resource to go down this route. Actually, you still need skills and knowledge to make this effective. For example, you need to be able to brief that person properly. You need to know how you can assess if they can do the job they're promising to do. You need to know how to manage them, how to measure performance, and how to deal with problems. So yes, you need some kind of skills and knowledge, whichever route you choose. The point is that this is a choice. And my invitation to you is to make it a conscious choice. You see, the reality is that you're already making choices like this, whether you realise it or not. And your choices are having an impact on your business. They are affecting your results and your life. Again, my invitation is that you make it a conscious choice. So now moving around the triangle, we come to beliefs. This is actually beliefs and values. And in this context, I'm talking about how you want the business to be. What do you want it to stand for? What do you want it to be known for? What culture do you want to create? And what values do you want to operate by? Now, I won't go into detail here, but you'll recognise the importance of these decisions in any business. We all know examples of businesses with great cultures. And sadly, we all know examples of businesses with dubious values. Now, those are choices made by the leader. Again, my invitation is to make your choices about this consciously. Again, you are already making these choices. And now you're thinking about it. Are you happy with your possibly unconscious choices? Food for thought, maybe. And now we move to the final point in the triangle, which is brain. It's actually mind and brain. And here we're looking at how you think. There is no more significant factor in your business than this, none. To show you what I mean, let's think of what happens when a problem arises. Now, this is the real world, of course. Problems will come up, no matter how consciously you think and how carefully you set up your systems. The question is, how will you react when a tricky problem arises? Will you be able to find a solution? Will you be able to do that calmly, easily? Or will you find yourself stressed and feeling under mounting pressure? I find the brain so fascinating. I've researched the neuroscience, actually, of what happens in the brain in different real-world situations. And when you understand why the brain does what it does, then you can be more conscious when you're finding things difficult. Now, you know as well as I do that there will be times when something happens that you're not happy with. It could be a customer or a client is complaining. It could be that you've got a cash flow squeeze. It could be that some marketing you're doing isn't producing the results. It could be that someone in your team is not performing as you're expecting them to. You'll have your own examples and experiences, of course. Lots of things will go wrong and you will face them. And just like the thinking we applied to the resources quadrant, there are ways of thinking in this self quadrant. There are ways of dealing effectively with all these kinds of challenges. It takes understanding and awareness of how you're thinking and how you're reacting. And you can learn exactly how to control that thinking and control those reactions. As I said, nothing has more impact on how your business thrives than your ability to think and deal with situations. It's absolutely possible to operate in a very different way when you have a greater brain understanding. Now, just starting with the knowledge of how you've got three brains, there's the lizard, the Labrador, and the human brain. Just that can transform your productivity and performance. Again, sadly, I haven't got time to go into this in detail on this point. I could happily spend 2 days going into all this, teaching you about how the amygdala affects you, how something called the anterior cingulate cortex can take you literally out of your mind, and how the prefrontal cortex is critical for you and what stops you accessing it. But right now, it's just useful for you to be aware of the importance of managing and using your brain. Remember, your objective is to solve problems and move forwards and upwards as smoothly as possible. And it is all possible. It starts with awareness, and hence the self quadrant. So now you can see the big picture. You've seen the reality that actually we all want the same things that make our lives meaningful, even though we don't talk about those things very much. You've seen why people get stuck in the busyness delusion, and the impact that that has by moving us away from what's really important. You've seen how you're making decisions about your resources already, and how you can make different, empowering and more impactful decisions. You've seen what to focus on, what to automate, systemize and teach others, and why that's so important, because that's what frees you up and what grows the business better and moves you towards what's really important, which is your version of the 3 Fs. And you've seen that all of this starts with yourself, with you. And here's a truth that I found amazing when I first learned it. Self-development is a team game. Right? Think about the Olympics, right? We've had Rio. Now, how many athletes performed at those games, do you think? The answer is over 11,000 at Rio alone. And before that was the London Games. Going further back, there was Beijing, there was Athens and Sydney. That's tens of thousands of athletes in just those last 5 games. And then there's the Paralympics and the Winter Olympics. And the modern version of these games goes back over 100 years. Well, how many athletes does that mean? It's hundreds of thousands, right? Now, how many of those athletes with their great performances and capabilities reached those Olympics alone? The answer, not one, not a single one. Every one of those high performers had someone behind them, a coach, a mentor, a physio, a captain, a guide, a champion, even if it was just somebody called Dad. Right? Hundreds of thousands of high performers and not a single one got there on their own. So isn't it curious how when people are looking to do something really significant with their business, which has a huge impact on how they actually live their lives, they decide to go it alone? Of course, now you've seen this big picture framework, it's easy to understand the reason. It's about the unconscious decisions around resources. There's the money is scarce belief, part of the conditioning and beliefs that I described in the self quadrant. And that leads to the unconscious decision not to use money, and therefore to call on the weaker and less dependable resources of time and effort. You understand how these work as I've been through the resources quadrant. Do you see how all of these tie together? Now, as I said, external growth starts from the inside. It starts with self. And true work on self, the development of skills and knowledge, the clarification of beliefs that work for you rather than against you, and the development of a powerful and resourceful brain, all that starts inside. And as a team game, it's best done with external help. So now we've covered the whole story. You've got a big picture, and you're clear and conscious of what really matters in life and how your business needs to work so that it moves you towards the 3 F's that are so important to you. So now you have a choice to make, and my invitation is for you to be aware of this choice and for you to make a decision consciously and deliberately. Here is your choice. If you recognise that your business is not currently set up and working in a way that is going to move you towards your 3 F's, then you have a choice to either keep working in this way in the knowledge of what result you're likely to get, or to decide to explore and learn more about what you can do to change it for the better, so that you can move towards whatever's really important in your own life. That's the first choice. And then, if your choice is to explore and learn more, you've got a second conscious decision to make. You can either investigate, research, and invest your own time and energy into working it out on your own, or you can do what the athletes do and invite external help, which is, of course, where I come in. Now, as you'll appreciate, I've been helping entrepreneurs and business owners in this situation for many years now. It's my specialism, my expertise, and I focus only on this because it creates transformed businesses and better lives for the business owners. And right now, I'm extending this invitation to work with a few more special clients to help them get a very different business performance in life. Now, it's pretty natural to recognise that even though I can help a lot of different types of businesses and many types of people, it's completely unrealistic to believe that I can help absolutely everyone. No one can help everyone, including you. And because I'm clear on my own beliefs and values, I make sure that I only work with people that I am certain I can help get these kinds of results. Now, given what you've heard here, you'd expect me to have a process, wouldn't you? So here's the process I've developed to work out if I can help you. We get on the phone or on Skype and actually have a conversation. Simple as that. You see, processes don't have to be complicated. Now, I appreciate that you and I probably haven't spoken before, but I hope you've got a sense of what I'm like from my story and this training. You've got some appreciation of what I'm all about, what are my values, and that we will have a friendly and extremely insightful conversation if you take up my invitation. I'm totally sincere in this work. I'm totally dedicated to making sure that the clients that I work with get the kind of transformed business we're talking about here. I'd also like to point out you can't just sign up for us to work together because you don't know if it's right for you, and I don't yet know if I can help you. But how about we figure that out together? If we get together to speak, then here's what happens. I'll ask you some questions about your business so I can understand what you do, where you're at, how things fit together, and how things are going overall. And then together, we'll work out where your pinch point is, where your priority focus needs to be so you can get some quick wins in your business. That'll give me the clarity I need to know if I can help you, and you'll get the clarity you need to know to make your own best decision at that point. And then you can make one of 3 decisions. Number 1, you've got a lot from what we've covered in the conversation, and you're ready just to plough on and make the changes yourself. And I wish you every success, and I ask that you let me know when you've reached your goals. Decision number 2, option number 2, is you've got a lot of insight from our conversation, but I don't believe that I'm the best person to help you. In which case, I might point you towards someone who's better placed for your kind of business, and I wish you every success. Or the third option, where you've got a lot from the conversation together and would like to work with me. In which case, we work out how best to make that happen for you. And if we do start working together, you can expect to start thinking in a very different way and structuring things differently. So you really get back what's most important to you. And remember, that is so much more than just the ability to pay the bills. So that's how the conversation works. If you've understood everything I've guided you through, and you're ready to explore further, then here's what to do right now. Click on the Schedule Our Call button. That will take you to my electronic calendar, and you just book yourself in at an available time that works for you as well. Typically, these calls are about 45 minutes, and together we can identify where your priority focus needs to be in those 45 minutes. So once you've scheduled the call, you'll get a confirmation email, and you'll also get a link to an application form. And it's really important that you fill that in and do that straight after booking our conversation. It's not intrusive, but it'll give me a bit of information up front so I can do a little bit of preparation so I'm ready when we speak. And when you've completed those few questions, we're good to go, and we'll speak at the scheduled time. Now at this point, if you've attended presentations like this one before, you'll know that I'm supposed to say things like, you've only have the next 2 hours to book your call, or I've only got 5 slots available. You know the score. You create some sense of urgency or scarcity to persuade you to book a call. Well, that just doesn't fit with my beliefs and values, so I don't do that. And anyway, I've got people booking all the time, so it's really entirely up to you. Honestly, you can book a call right now, or you can delay the decision and tell yourself that you'll book it in a week or in a month. But you and I both know that if you do put off that decision, then you won't book later. And if that happens, you'll be in the same situation in 1 month, 6 months, or 2 years from now. So it may not feel actually urgent, but you'll agree that it's super important. So, and you'll hear me say this a lot, I invite you to make your decision consciously. Taking no action right now is a decision. Delaying a decision is a decision. It may be unconscious, but it does have consequences. There is an impact to that decision. Your lifestyle and your business right now are absolutely the reflections of unconscious decisions you've made along your route here today. So yes, make a conscious decision. Are you moving towards or away from your 3 Fs? Do you have the knowledge and skills to change things to have those 3 Fs? If you're open to exploring this further, there's your decision right there. Only you know if it's right for you, but I invite you to ask yourself if you're likely to get the results and outcome you want if you continue doing what you're doing. As for our call, there's 0 risk because there's 0 pressure. This is a conversation about your business. There's no pressure or expectation for us to work together. Now, I sincerely hope that this content has been insightful for you and that it's set you thinking about things differently. If you recognise your own busyness delusion, then I hope it's been an effective wake-up call for you. And if it has, do you believe that what you're doing is going to get you what you want? And even if it is it currently happening fast enough, clearly enough, and with enough certainty so you're enjoying the work? If it's not, and if you want to change, I hope you're clear how essential outside help is. So if you're open to explore this further, then I look forward to speaking with you. Just click on the Schedule Our Call button to set that up. Whatever your decision, I wish you a true success in business and in life. I encourage you to be aware of the decisions you're making. Good luck, and I look forward to hearing from you.